Well, it's 5 o'clock somewhere. Great to have you aboard. I'll tell you what's happening in the Karen retrial right now. This retrial, there's a huge difference between what's happening this year and what happened last year. And it's all really focused on the prosecutor. Yes, we have a new prosecutor in town, a new style, a new tone, a new rhythm to the case. The questions and answers are flowing much more logically. He has a plan. He's executing the plan. Will it be successful? Only the jury will tell us that. But this prosecutor, much more organized, but he's doing something else. He's doing something else. And I've never seen this before. But there's a lot in this case that we've never seen before. But as you watch the case and you watch the witnesses testify, in between witnesses, it's like, hey, jury, take a look at this now. And he's showing these clips of Karen Read from the various interviews that she's done. Some are audio, some are video, some are from things that have aired, some are, I think, from the raw material. It is fascinating, but he is taking bits and pieces, clips of Karen Read, and trying to pepper them throughout his case to make a point. And there's just one point I think he's trying to make with these clips, and they're carefully selected. And he's not showing the whole interview. It's kind of like he's turning the trial into like a social media feed where, you know, we take little bits and pieces of things and then splash them there without the context surrounding them. And you're like, oh, did you see that clip? Did you see that clip? And we've seen this done in political campaigns where they will take a piece of something. They don't show you what happened before. They don't show you what happened afterwards. And it has an impact, especially in the world we live in now, where we are taking our phones and just looking at, 10 seconds at a time, 15 seconds here, maybe a minute and a half here, another 17 seconds here. And we're just looking at clips. And that's what he's doing. He's taking clips, bits and pieces of Karen Read, and sprinkling it in front of the jury before and after witnesses testify. I've never seen it done like this before. I don't know what the impact is, but we are going to break it all down, and I'm going to show you the clips that he's showing the jury. Like, what Karen Read has said in interviews is now being taken in little tiny chunks and fed to the jury. Great to have you aboard. I'm Vinny Politan, lead anchor for Court TV. I'm on television every night, live true crime from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. But when I can, I come on here and stream live.
Hey, get ready, get set, let's go.
It's true crime, streaming live, worldwide. It's Vinny Live. It's true crime, streaming live, worldwide. It's Vinny Live. Get ready. So post inside the chat. Get ready for the prosecutor hat. Get set to like and to subscribe. Let's go. It's time for Vinny Live.
All right, it's Thursday. Still working through the atmosphere, the allergies, the congestion, everything else, but I'm feeling much better. Not quite there yet, but getting closer. Great to see you. Thanks for coming aboard. This is Vinny Live. I like that white noise. Reminds me of the courtroom. Okay. So the prosecution is really trying to clip Karen Read inside the courtroom with her own clips, trying to take her out with these clips, trying to, and really what they're doing by taking the pieces that they're taking, they're trying to make her look bad, and they're trying to make the jury not like her. They're trying to make the jury not like her. As I play these clips for you, you know, think what you want, believe what you want, but understand, for this jury, the only thing they know, The only thing they're going to base their verdict on is what they see and hear in the courtroom. So they're not going to see the entire interviews. They're going to see these little chunks. Karen Reed may never testify. She didn't testify in the first trial. I don't think she's going to testify in the second trial. Maybe these clips will force her to. But make no mistake, this is being done purposefully. There's a reason why he's picking certain clips to play. They're the clips that he believes make her look bad and make her unlikable. Likability is a big part of every trial. Sometimes it's just the lawyers. Sometimes it's a particular witness. Maybe it's a lead investigator, or maybe it's the defendant. And sometimes it's difficult to form a real opinion of the defendant because oftentimes they don't testify. They remain silent. You just have to look at their body language and what they're saying and how, not what they're saying, but how they're acting and reacting to things. But in this case, it's much different. You know, there's no police interview to show, but there are interviews from Dateline in 2020 and one of the local magazines as well. So it's interesting to see the way the prosecutor is approaching all of this. So let's get right to it. I'm going to play some of these clips, or maybe all of these clips. But remember, I have to run at some point because I am going live on television tonight and need to be fully prepared for all of that. And throughout the live stream, I keep my eye on my phone just in case something is blowing up. But let's get right to it. We'll get to the first clip. This was played, I think, in the opening statement.
I mean, I didn't think I hit him, but could I have clipped him? Could I have tagged him in the knee and incapacitated him? He didn't look mortally wounded as far as I could see, but could I have done something that knocked him out and in drunkenness and in the cold didn't come to again?
And this would have been the moment you dropped him off at the party.
Yeah, would have had to.
Okay, so that was the first one. And this one caused quite a stir because Alan Jackson had to address it immediately in his opening statement. But this is the problem with clips. It's what you see in political campaigns, where one side will take a little piece of what someone says, take it, maybe it's in context, maybe it's out of context, and they use it against them. They take pieces of what their opponent has said, but never providing the complete statements, just taking pieces, clips. And in the world of politics, it is what it is. It's incumbent on the other side to explain and give some context to all of it. But is that going to happen here? Is that going to happen? Will the jury get the full context? Or are they just going to get a series of these clips that are placed into evidence? And they'll watch these little clips, and are they going to like her? After watching these selected pieces of her interviews, I think the prosecution is banking on them not liking her. Now, right here, this one is a prime example of being taken out of context. Like, it sounds like, could I have hit him? And then she saw him. It's like she saw him at the moment she's in the car, which we all know, the prosecutor knows, everyone knows is not true. But it was misleading. It was misleading. You know, if a juror takes that like, oh, she didn't know if she hit him, but he didn't look mortally wounded. Well, she's talking about when she sees him the following morning. But if you don't see the entire interview and understand all of the context, it can be very misleading. Now, this is interesting because when it comes to using out-of-court statements in court, they're hearsay, but an exception to hearsay is a statement against interest. So that's what he is saying here, is that you can use statements of the defendant because the prosecutor can say, well, he's saying something that's against his or her interest, and that's an exception to the hearsay rule, because why would someone say something like that if it wasn't true, right? So the stuff is coming in. Sometimes judges will require the entire recordings to be played and not just selected portions, right? Either Mr. Prosecutor, you put the entire interview in, or you put nothing in. You put in the entire statement, or you get nothing in. You can't just pick and choose different pieces. And here it becomes very dangerous for the defense, and perhaps very, very effective for the prosecution. Whether you believe it's fair or not, it's being allowed in, and it's happening. So that clip, I mean, in what way does that help her? It doesn't. Let's watch it one more time.
I mean, I didn't think I hit him, but could I have clipped him? Could I have tagged him in the knee and incapacitated him? He didn't look mortally wounded as far as I could see, but could I have done something that knocked him out and in drunkenness and in the cold didn't come to again?
And this would have been the moment you dropped him off at the party.
Yeah, would have had to.
All right, that's number one. That's not helpful for her at all. Now, if the jury believes that the prosecutor's, playing fast and loose here, trying to pull a fast one on him, it could bite him. But at the end of the day, this was in the beginning of the case. We've got a long way to go. We've got weeks and weeks ahead of us in this trial. And at the end of the day, these clips will be evidence that the jury can use. All right, let's get to clip number 2. He's had 11 clips.
We'd like to play this first and then call Ms. Roberts.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Or did they come back to you at some point? I mean, how much do you remember?
I remember it, but I question, do I remember it because it's been relived so much? I mean, when I see the video of me driving from the waterfall, like what I just described, tapping the brakes when I crossed the intersection, Washington over Sherman Street, do I actually remember that I kind of slowly proceeded through that green light? No, I don't actually remember that. But I've seen the video so many times that you then question, did I remember it on my own? Or was my memory jogged? But I also wondered, did I say, could I have hit him? Or was it told to me that I said I hit him? And I knew I never could have said that, so the closest I must have said was, did I hit him? I know I said I hit him, but did I really say it as many times as law enforcement's claiming I said it?
That's an interesting one, right? You're talking about the admission. Does she really remember driving that night? Because I think there's a big theme here, second time around, that's going to focus a little bit more on the drinking of Karen Reed that night. I think there's going to be a much bigger focus on that. You'll see some clips later on that they played today that were really zeroed in on the alcohol part of all of this, which when the case first started, I thought that's what this case was going to be about. I really did. I thought this was a drinking and driving case that we've seen many, many times, not the same exact circumstances, but we've seen cases where folks who normally aren't part of the criminal justice system end up in the criminal justice system because of drinking, driving, and someone ends up dead. So let's continue to watch that one. I don't think is very damaging to Karen Reed, and I don't think it's very helpful to prosecutors either. I don't think that's a big one.
Thank you. I'd now call Kerry Roberts.
All right. That was the one they played just before Kerry Roberts testified. Let's go to clip 3.
When my car was seized, there was a few small pieces of taillight missing that I had picked out at John's at 5:45 before we drove over to Fairview. I'm showing Jim and Kerry, look what I just did to my light, and I'm worried that there's going to be some kind of electric short circuit. There's like the bulb is showing, and some of the red plastic's missing. So I picked pieces out of the light housing that had kind of collapsed within the light and dropped them in John's driveway.
I'd like to have that marked as an exhibit, please.
Okay.
No objection.
Right.
All right. So this one is factually important because there's been a big deal made about whether or not Kerry Roberts and Jennifer McCabe actually saw Karen Reed's taillight, because they both testified falsely that when they first arrived, when they were doing the exchange of the vehicles and were getting into one car, going from 2 cars to 1 car, and they went to the home, they both testified initially that when they first got there, Karen Reed was pointing out the tail light. There's video of that moment when they pull up and they are not looking at the tail light. So that testimony was false. Kerry Robertson said it must have been when we were leaving. This part of the interview from Karen Reed confirms that, yes, Kerry Roberts and Jennifer McCabe were there when Karen Reed is fiddling or looking at or talking about or picking pieces out of her tail light. Now, she says it's broken for a different reason when she was backing out, but now all of a sudden Jennifer McCabe and Kerry Roberts talking about Karen Reed pointing out the tail light to them makes sense. They got the time wrong, but she is in this interview acknowledging that moment. So this is powerful, very powerful for the prosecution, because they may not have been otherwise able to prove it, because the one video that exists of when they arrived shows that they weren't looking at the tail light, even though they testified that they did when they arrived. But in this, Karen Reed is acknowledging that, yeah, I was picking pieces of it when they were there. So to me, that now makes the prosecution argument that, okay, Kerry Roberts, they got the time wrong. It wasn't when they arrived. It was after they arrived. It must have been when they were leaving. Was when they took a look at the tail light. So it's not as big a problem for prosecutors and those witnesses, because Karen Reed herself is confirming that there is some discussion and talk, and she is going to the taillight at that moment before they drive over to 34 Fairview. It wasn't when they first arrived. It must have been as they were getting ready to leave. Well, that was an important piece for prosecutors, because otherwise the credibility of Roberts and McCabe would have been further damaged.
They had pulled into the driveway before me, so I was presuming she saw my cracked taillight and was thinking, did you hit my son? I could sense from her that she was looking at me very warily. And then when John's nephew came home, I just wanted to see him and squeeze him. I don't know, it was quite uncomfortable. I said, Dad, come upstairs to the master bedroom. I said, I think I need to leave. I said, I think John's mother thinks I did something to John.
Okay. So this is another one that John's mother, Peggy O'Keefe, testified that this didn't happen. This conversation didn't happen. And Karen Reed is very adamant that she's being accused right from the get-go by John O'Keefe's mother. And she didn't testify in the first trial. She testified in this one. Very emotional. But she's saying that never happened. So I guess they're using this. It was sort of a convoluted argument that he used to get it in front of the jury. But the real reason he wants it is that he believes that she is coming up with a cover story as to why she took certain actions that she took that day. Sort of a cover story that she got there and she was confronted by John O'Keefe's mother that, you know, she did something here. And she's saying, and John O'Keefe's mother saying that never happened. Well, now what does the jury do with that? Right? Is Karen Reed making up this story in this interview? Will Karen Reed get on the witness stand to explain what actually happened from her perspective? It's an interesting clip.
May I call my next witness, Your Honor?
Please.
The Commonwealth calls Nicholas.
All right, we get to the next clip now. They've played a lot of these clips already in just a few days.
And his mother leans over the kitchen island and says to me, I think it looks like you got hit by a car. It looks like you got hit by a car.
let's watch that one more time. This is clearly designed and being put here to make her look bad.
And his mother leans over the kitchen island and says to me, I think it looks like he got hit by a car. It looks like he got hit by a car.
That's not a good look. I mean, it's not a good look. However you cut it, slice it, dice it, whatever you want, that's a bad look. That's a really bad look. That's not, when it comes to that likability factor. There's something to that. There is something to the likability factor. I've seen it way too many times inside a court. Yeah, the jury, they go by the facts, but there's always this gray area, and there's these credibility calls and things that a juror has to resolve. And if they like one lawyer, or if they like one side, or they like one witness, for whatever reason, they're going to get a little more of the benefit. If it's a call, if two people are saying opposite things, the person they like is going to get the benefit of that. And that's part of the reason. It's clearly part of the reason why the prosecution is putting these limited clips in front of the jury. They want to give the jury a really bad impression of Karen Read, period, without her testifying, and perhaps forcing her to testify. If at the end of the day, the defense feels like so much damage has been done and things about these clips need to be explained, and things haven't gone like they wanted them to go, they may be like, listen, we're going to need you to go up there. I think you need to go up there and show them who you are and explain and put some context into some of these statements and tell us your story. I don't know if it's going to happen, but these clips are not
Next witness, Mr. Brennan.
Next witness.
All right. I couldn't find clip 6. I was looking for 6, but now these are the ones. This is a series of clips.
When you walked out of the bar, how many drinks had you had?
I had probably about 4, and not 4 that I completed either. I didn't drink maybe more than a few sips at the waterfall.
And 4 drinks you felt fine to drive?
Yep.
And all these clips are connected to one another.
And is the level of intoxication pretty high here for everybody?
It's happy.
Yeah.
It's,
Because you'd had a lot to drink, right?
I wouldn't say, I'd have like a normal amount. Like a vodka tonic every 40 minutes.
Okay. And so are you feeling like buzzed? And I'm not judging, I'm just trying to get a sense.
Yeah, buzzed.
Yeah.
There's a series of clips you play all about her drinking.
The final count of my alcohol intakes, probably about 5 or 6 or 4. The drinks that they were pouring me at McCarthy's, which is where I consumed most of the alcohol, was the weakest vodka tonic. It tasted just like old soda water with lime. Not that I need it to be a martini, but it might have had a splash of vodka in it. So I said, John, this drink tastes like it has no vodka in it. He said, just get a shot and mix it yourself. So each drink was being counted as a double. So I would get a vodka tonic, and then I would pour a shot into it, so that would count as 2. Frankly, it just felt like a regular cocktail. It was just a really weak pour, so I asked for a shot. So for my taste, it just tasted like that's the normal strength of what a drink should be. So I had...
Now, as she continues to go on and on and on, the image that's being created here is that this is someone who is a drinker. Like, this is someone who drinks. That's the impression I am getting from this series of clips. Like, she knows a lot about drinking. She knows the lingo. Not that it's a big deal, but it is a big deal in a case where you're accused of drinking and driving and striking someone. It's a big, big deal. So now you're getting these statements that make her sound like she drinks all the time, she drinks a lot, and she knows a lot about drinking. That's not good. There's no way that you can try to take that evidence and say, oh, well, it's not really that. No, it's bad. It's really bad. It's really bad. In a case with these allegations and this fact pattern.
Maybe 2 or 3 that are being counted as 4 and 6. And I don't know. I felt fine. I felt like I was buzzed. And then there was one drink, the last one that was given to me, which I would have counted as 3, but they're counting as my 6th cocktail. The guys that we were with brought around shots, and they gave me one that I didn't drink, but I poured it in my drink. So that's now my 5th and 6th drinks, with the 7th, which is a shot that all the men did, and I poured it. So that one glass that I'm holding, that I go into the waterfall with, has 3 drinks in it, a vodka tonic and 2 shots. And which is why John said to me, you're not leaving that drink here, like you haven't touched it and just poured a bunch of vodka. He's like, just take it with you, which was something he always did. So then I go into waterfall and I put that drink down and I socialize most of the time. So that would have been my 5th, 6th, and 7th drinks. Then John orders me a drink at the waterfall that I don't drink, that he takes with him. And then there was a round of shots that Chris Howard bought that I did take. So that would have been the night. But I did not consume 9 vodka martinis or take 9 shots, depending on how you count it. And the last 2 drinks, I didn't touch.
Now, I couldn't keep track. You have to take notes on that to figure out how much she actually drank. But what do you take away from it? Like, their shots are flowing and she's drinking and she's pouring them into her drink. Other people are pouring shots into her drink. She's drinking. There's no doubt she's drinking. And we know she's driving. We know everybody else there was drinking and driving too. But one person's on trial for what happened when they're behind the wheel of a car. That's the allegation. She's behind the wheel of a car when this happens. So it's 1,000% relevant and problematic and very effective in the way this is flowing, like the alcohol was flowing. This evidence is flowing in front of the jury. None of this is good. None of this is good. You cannot sit there and say, it's not a big deal. It is a big deal. This is a real big deal. And this is a focus on the case that didn't happen first time around. It didn't. First time around, the prosecution was much more defensive. It's like they were, trying to fight off the defense allegations that hadn't even happened instead of focusing on proving their case. The focus is much different this time. This prosecutor is much more organized and understanding how to get from point A to point B. You don't worry about everything that the defense is going to do. You try to head off some of it, but you have a burden of proof and you have to prove it. They didn't prove it the first time around because they weren't even focused on proving it. They were focused on disproving all the allegations that the defense had made. And that's not how you prove your case. You don't prove your case by disproving the defense. You prove your case because you got to prove your case. Your evidence is your evidence and you should have it. And you got to play that card. And that's what's happening. And the drinking, like I thought initially when the case first happened, is now back in the forefront of this case. And no one can tell me that this is helping. These clips are helping Karen Read at all. Not at all. The question is, what degree of harm are they doing? Because they aren't helping. If you honestly look at them, they are not helping. And that's purposeful. Why would a prosecutor put in evidence, selected pieces of evidence that would help the defense? He's not going to do that.
Clip.
We got 2 more. Again, still focused on the alcohol.
I mean, I'm not as clear clear as I would be if I hadn't been drinking. I mean, I had drank, so, and that led me to question, like, could I have hit him? Did I run over his foot or hit him in the knee?
Okay. Now you can say, well, she's being honest. She's admitting that, yes, she's being honest, but it's still not good. It's not good. Now, she's explaining why she is saying, could I have hit him? Because I knew I was drinking and driving and my head's a little foggy. I'm like, could I have done it? That's not good either. That's not the top count. That's not second degree, but it's still not good. It's not having a clear recollection of what happened the night before is not a defense here. It's clearly more incriminating than exculpatory if you don't have a clear recollection of what happened. And that's what's coming out here. That's why he's putting this in. It's like, well, she doesn't know because why? Well, we just heard about all the drinks that were flowing at C.F. McCarthy's and at the waterfall. Let's continue.
Did I incapacitate him? I mean, I always drive with my music blasting ever since I was 16. And I know when John got out of the car to go into Fairview, I know my car was blasting because when I got in it the next morning to go look for him, I had to immediately turn it down. And I don't know, it's stormy. I have had a few cocktails.
See, there's the admit. I had a few cocktails. Again, that theme keeps coming through. That's what that's going to resonate with the jury. Like, they're going to remember that from this presentation. They will remember these clips. This isn't evidence or testimony that's going to kind of like go to the wayside. This is in the front of their minds. This is the accused talking about what happened. Anytime a defendant testifies, it's the most important witness in the case. She's likely not going to testify, but they have this. Just like an interrogation video in some cases is crucial in trying to figure things out, so is a TV interview.
I didn't black out, but I wasn't as lucid as I would have been if I had gone to bed at 9 and drank a tea. But so I was fuzzier than I would have been if I had no alcohol.
Again, that's not good. It's not a good look. None of this is a good look. It's all a bad look.
How did you feel after that many drinks? When you got in the car, did you feel like you could drive, and did you feel how
I wouldn't have gotten on the expressway. I wouldn't have gotten on the expressway at 12:15 on January 29th. I mean, it was quiet. The roads were very quiet. You can see it on the videos. And I was going, when I've had a few drinks and I drive, I always drive extra slow. So I know my.
Okay. So now an admission that you drink and drive like regularly almost. Oh, when I drink, I drive more slowly. There's an old joke, right, where the guy gets pulled over for speeding and he says, "Officer, I'm not speeding because I know when I drink, I drive extra slow." Like right there, she just said, when I drink, I drive more slowly, so I'm not getting on the expressway. This goes further than just the little facts that get picked out of these. It's an overall impression that you're getting of Karen Read. And with playing like these clips 7 through 11 were played back to back to back to back to back, all in a row at the end of the day. So at the end, what does the jury take? What do you take away from that? She drinks a lot, and she drinks and drives. And it's not the first time she's been drinking and driving. And yeah, you can talk about all the other cops and everybody else that was there that was drinking and driving, but none of them are on trial. None of them are accused. If they were, it would be a problem for them. But she's the one on trial. The fact that they're drinking and driving doesn't negate the fact that she's drinking and driving, because part of the charges against her are drinking and driving, striking someone. I'm being repetitive, but none of this is helpful. It's very harmful, very effective for the prosecutor, and something that did not happen in the first trial.
My alerts aren't as sharp as they should be. But I shouldn't have been driving. But I don't think I was driving. I know I wasn't driving recklessly. I mean, I've got plenty of video of myself driving all over the place. I put my car in John's garage, which is incredibly narrow, and I had a very oversized SUV. You see me. There's a video of me driving through the intersection when we leave Waterfall to go to Brian Albert's, and I was always taught by my father, even when you have a green light, you always should tap the brake. You don't know who's going to run red. And I see me doing that multiple times between 12 and 1 and 5 and 6 a.m. So I know I was driving safely, not as safely or as alert as I would be if I had no alcohol. But I was not driving recklessly by any measure.
Okay. All right. So at the end of the day, what do we have? We have someone who admits to drinking and driving and saying, but I wasn't driving recklessly because I'm really careful when I'm drinking and driving. That's what I took away from that. Now, is that helpful? Does anyone think that's helpful for Karen Reed? No, I don't. When I'm drinking and driving, well, I'm not as good as I would be if I wasn't drinking, but still, I'm not reckless. I drive, when I drink and drive, I drive much more carefully and much slower. I'm not going to get on the expressway. I'm going to take it very easy because I know I'm drinking and driving. There's no good way to, and it's about more than the facts. Now, from all those clips that we just played you, are you going to like her more? Are you going to like her less? Or are you going to be neutral about it and have no opinion one way or the other about her? You're going to have an opinion. You say, oh, wow, she likes to. And if you have people who, don't appreciate people who drink and drive, they're not going to like her. A little too cavalier about drinking and driving. And by the way, there's also really bad weather that night, which makes it even more difficult to drive safely. The good news is there's less people on the road. So there's a less chance of you hurting someone else. But you have to be realistic about it and understand why this stuff is being put in there. Now, he comes up with the legal arguments to get him in. That's mumbo jumbo. He wants this jury to see and hear Karen Reed in moments when he believes she doesn't look good and people will not have a good impression of her, and the jurors will be less likely to like her, more likely to dislike her. That's the purpose of the clips. Okay, before I run out of time, I'm going to get to comments now. Here we go. Let's run through them. Brooklyn Janet, Vinny, the text between John O'Keefe and Karen Reed make John look manipulative, sarcastic, and not very kind. I think the text served the defense. In most cases, I would say yes. In most cases, I would say yes, where the boogeyman, the villain, is the victim. The victim has done something wrong. But that's not this case. That's not this case. She's pointing the finger at Proctor, at Brian Albert, at Brian Higgins, at the DA. It's not at John O'Keefe. John O'Keefe is not the villain here. So in a normal case, yeah, but this isn't a case where the defense is villainizing or attacking the victim. It's quite the opposite of that. So even though it makes John O'Keefe look manipulative, sarcastic, and not very kind, what it does show is that there's problems in the relationship. And a fact like that could almost be used against Karen Reed as a reason for her to be angry with John because he's being manipulative, being sarcastic, and not being kind to Karen. More of a reason for her to lash out when she's been drinking. So in most cases, I would agree. In this case, because John O'Keefe is not the enemy, John O'Keefe is not the villain. So I think it's just a little different.
Time to get happy. It's time to get funky. It's time for us to smile. 'Cause here comes McSpunky.
McSpunky, thank you. And blessings to all. Blessings to McSpunky, giving us a moment just to get away from the mayhem of true crime and to smile and share blessings with one another. Thank you so much. Mick Spunky in the house. All right. Let's see who else is here. I'm going to scroll row. Deanna Bellina. Hank is going for the W. That's it. Justice? Who cares? Well, that's a good point. And I'd like to address that real quickly as I work through these. I do believe that the role of the prosecutor is justice is the truth. The big problem I have with the prosecution at this point was no curiosity about that first jury. Did they actually did they all agree that she was not guilty on counts 1 and 3? They should have inquired. They should have wanted to know. And if the jury did say that, but didn't fill out the paperwork the right way, technically you can go forward. Ethically, you shouldn't. And that's a problem. It's not just about winning as a prosecutor. It's about getting to the truth, getting to justice. And they did not have any curiosity about the truth of what happened in that jury room. And I was not happy with that. I did not agree with that. By the way, folks, streaming live on my Facebook page, on my YouTube page, on my Twitch, on my X, and on the Court TV YouTube channel. Welcome to all over from Court TV. And Johnny Knoxville, Vinny, you're the best. Thank you for keeping us informed with the meaningful bits of these trials. Of course, Johnny Knoxville. Enjoyed all your work, Johnny, and your old show on MTV. All right. Let's see who else is on the check-in today. As I got to run pretty quickly here. I can't dilly-dally today. Most days I can dilly-dally a little bit. Tomorrow I'll be dilly-dallying for a while with the tangents. Tomorrow, me, Alan Jonesy, Tangent Podcast, will do a little bit more on this, a lot more on this case. Thank you so much, Johnny, and thank you to Unapologetically Authentic. Wouldn't it matter that within 24 hours of the alleged I hit him, she was Section 12, and also, of course, she wanted to go be with her family. That's an interesting. How does that issue play that she was Section 12? That she was, they feared that she may have wanted to take her own life. That she wasn't in her right mind. How does that impact what she's saying is where you're getting, right? The fact that she's in this state of mind. I think it all plays together. I think you can make the argument that she's frantic. I think we see her being frantic. And then the question is, why is she frantic? Is she frantic because John is dead? Or John appears to be dead? Is she frantic because she believes she is responsible for that? Is she frantic because her mind has snapped? And does that give us less credence in what she is saying? Does it have less credibility? The so-called I hit 'ems. In the first trial, they laid out all the I hit 'ems. Did I hit him? I hit him. Did I hit him? They did it. And the juror I spoke to who spoke out said it was a wash. He wasn't convinced one way or the other just because of all the issues. So I think the defense understands this issue. But if I was the prosecutor, if I put on my prosecutor hat for a second, the big point here that needs to be a theme for the prosecution in heading off the defense's arguments about a bad investigation and tunnel vision and everything else is to go to where did the notion that Karen Reed struck John O'Keefe come from? Like, who was the first person to raise that issue? It was Karen Reed herself. And I think that's what prosecutors will likely do this time around, because they're going to have to explain a horrific investigation, an absolutely horrific investigation. And how do you explain it? Well, you explain it that they didn't look anywhere else because they felt like they had a confession from someone. Now, should they have done a bigger investigation? Yes, obviously. But what is the truth? What is the actual explanation for why they didn't? Well, it's either they were covering up for the people in the house, or they believed that this was a confession and they didn't go anywhere else. Like the whole notion of he was struck by the SUV came from Karen Reed herself. Whether it's in question form or statement form, either way, it doesn't matter. If she said, did I hit him? Then all of a sudden she has now introduced the possibility that she is the one responsible for what happened. It wasn't an accusation coming from someone else, which would also raise another specter, which is the body is close to where her car was and close to where John got out of the car. Okay. The defense is saying he was placed there. At the moment that they're placing the body there, do they know that Karen Reed is going to say or question whether or not she struck him? Like, did they know that she would do that? Were they planning on her saying that? Or were they just going to say it if she didn't say it? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. But I think those are things that the prosecution will likely raise during a closing argument when trying to deal with the awful investigation and the tunnel vision in the case. Because they have to address it. Okay, Michelle L., how many purple ties do you have now, Vinny? LOL. Right now I have about 8, and I'm going to pick up about 5 more for the duration of this trial because I can't wear pink ties. I can't wear blue ties. So I'll be wearing purple ties, once in a while, maybe a black tie, and on verdict day, when and if it happens, a red tie. Thank you, Michelle. All right. I've never covered a case where I had to alter my wardrobe because of people. Okay. Jet Wilson, if I lie to the federal grand jury, do the feds prosecute? Rarely. If it's a material fact, maybe, but don't hold your breath. Don't hold your breath on that one. But if you lie, they can, if it's a material fact and they can prove that you're lying on purpose and you're not just misremembering something, they can prosecute you. They likely won't. KC Cat, hey, Vinny from Kansas City. Sure do miss Judge Napolitano. Hope all's well. He's a brilliant mind. Judge Napolitano. Now, Judge Napolitano, who was on TV for years, I think he's back on TV now, was a judge in New Jersey, was actually the first judge I ever appeared in front of as a prosecutor, as a very, very young prosecutor with really long hair. I appeared in front of Judge Napolitano. Flash forward years later, we're both on television. How about that? He's also a friend of the family, by the way. My father was a judge also. All right. Thank you, KC Cat. And am I trying to get current? I'm only 20 minutes behind. So I'm scrolling through everything because I only have minutes left here. We only have minutes left, ladies and gentlemen. By the way, please hit the like button. Please subscribe. Please share. If you're on my YouTube channel and you're not a member or a subscriber of Court TV's YouTube channel, please do that. If you're with Court TV's YouTube channel, please follow mine. All right. I just want to make sure I get all of these in. Jennifer Lego, 2 words for every defendant. Shut up. You have the right to remain silent. What you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. Fancy Nancy. Vinny just wants toe truth. I hope is that a typo, or is there another meaning to that, Fancy Nancy? Vinny just wants the truth. Yeah, the truth. Let's get to the truth. This is a tough one to get to the truth. And I say this because it's true. The defense, in trying to prove what they allege here, is almost impossible to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, because none of the people they believe are responsible were ever investigated. And that investigation needs to start within the first 48 hours. Otherwise, you're in a tough spot. And that's where they are. That's where most criminal defendants are. But the overwhelming majority of criminal defendants are guilty. There are exceptions, obviously. But all right, let's go to Fancy Fact Finder. I find it funny the Commonwealth hasn't mentioned Proctor. I would have thought they would have got in front of the elephant in the room. When and if they call him, I feel like you could prove the case without Proctor, almost. I mean, you have a little problem with some of the pieces of the tail light, but other than that, you really don't need him. You really don't need. I mean, I've seen cases where they don't call the lead investigator because the lead investigator is just gathering the evidence from other people, and other people are the ones who have the evidence. Sometimes a lead investigator just talks to witnesses and, doesn't hear him or herself actually find evidence. But in this case, he claims that he did. So that does make him relevant and important. But they'll put him in the middle of the case, not in the beginning, not in the end, leave him in the middle. And they're going to hope that the jury forgets about him. But obviously they won't. He's going by the thing, less is more. He's no good. In his closing argument, he'll probably just do a line or two about him, and that's it. Bang the gavel for John Bartlett. Congratulations. New YouTube member over on the Court TV YouTube channel. Great to have you aboard. Welcome to the community. Congratulations. You know what it's like? It's like when you're in the mafia and you become a made man, John. That's what you are now. You're a made man, Johnny. Johnny B. Johnny B. Welcome. All right. Not that I know anything about the mob. We never got to cover a mob trial on Court TV because they're always federal. There was one that was in state court, and for years I was tracking it. It was fascinating. Mary D with a Vinny Barbarino. Thank you, Mary D. That's what they used to call me back in the younger days. It was a trial. Danny Provenzano was a filmmaker, but he was also the son of an alleged mobster, and he got caught up in something. And he was having a trial and making a movie at the same time about his situation. And he got indicted in New Jersey. And I crossed my fingers that the trial would go. He ended up taking a deal. And he ended up on Real Housewives of New Jersey. Go figure. What a story. LR Noir. Thank you, LR Noir. Appreciate it. And thank you, Lauren HB. I'm not buying what the defense is selling. It makes no sense. It's too hard to believe the cops would kill him and just leave him there. Thank you, Lauren HB. And we shall see what the jury says about all this. Not an easy case for the jury. Gringa, the Albert's not exiting the home speaks volumes. That was strange, right? You're a police officer and there's a whole bunch of police cars and ambulances and people in your front yard and you never go outside. I never understood that. That doesn't make sense to me. That doesn't sound normal. Okay, I am current on my things. Krista, limited edition. Wouldn't the defense calling Proctor instead make a much worse impression? definitely good for Karen. Yeah, if prosecutors don't call him, the defense will, and that's not good for the prosecution. I think the prosecutors will call him and kind of bury him in the middle of the case and get him on and off as quickly as they can. All right, folks, I am out of time here because I get ready for the show tonight. 2 hours of live true crime. We'll be talking about this case, obviously, at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Vinnie Politan Investigates. We'll be talking about Stephen Stearns and the Madeline Soto case. Stearns in court talking. It's a huge motion in one of his trials, and we will be talking about Stephen Stearns and Vinnie Politan Investigates. So before I go, it's a little competition we have here on Vinnie Live, which is I'm type 1 diabetic. And it's time for you, ladies and gentlemen, as soon as I can find it. It's time for you to guess my blood sugar.
He's type 1. He's type 1. His pancreas is on first. He has diabetes, type 1 juvenile diabetes. And so it's time to guess, is more or less, what's his blood sugar? What's Vinnie's blood sugar? Under 70, he gets like 10. Under 60, all the alarms start ringing.
How you doing? How you doing?
Starts to get lethargic. But when it's 90, Vinnie, eyes are singing.
I'm going to finish the song because I love the song.
And so it's time to guess, is more or less, what's his blood sugar? What's Vinnie's blood sugar? But take a guess. Yes,
all right,
take
congratulations.
A guess. Let's guess Vinnie's blood sugar now.
How you doing? All right, so each quarter, whoever wins guesses the most blood sugars per quarter gets to go into the Vinnie Originale True Crime merch shop.
Hey everybody, hey everybody.
Pick out a lovely item.
For your body.
A beach towel.
You can wear it by yourself or with Frankie Valli. It's true crime merch from Vinnie Originale. It's true crime merch. It's true crime merch. It's true crime merch from Vinnie Originale. From Vinnie Originale.
Oh, congratulations to how you doing? Fantastic. Okay. So here we go. I think the show's over. Is the show over? It's over. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you. Thanks to all the folks over at Court TV, YouTube, my YouTube, Facebook, X, and Twitch. Like, subscribe, share, be kind to each other. Thank you to our great mod squad, Gen X, Frankie Face, Jennifer Sube, and of course, Ashley Bouchard on Facebook. Awesome job there. We appreciate it so much. That's it, but I got to run. I'll see you 8 o'clock tonight on Court TV. In the meantime, please don't forget to hug the kids.
Say goodbye. Thank you for watching Vinnie Live. We'll be back, but I don't know when. We hope that you will watch again. Vinnie Live. It's Vinnie Live. Whoa, it's Vinnie Live. To our awesome mosh. Thank you for those super chats. Please hit the like. Before you go, just one more thing. Please post below. Say anything.